There are cigarettes and there are vapes. We've seen the devastation cigarettes can cause. Heart disease, strokes, cancer, decades of research, millions of lives lost. We thought we had it all figured out. Then comes along vapes. Sleek, modern, supposedly safer, but what if we're just trading one demon for another? Research is still in its early stages on the health risks and effects associated with vaping. Doctors, like lung cancer surgeon Stephen Broderick, have noticed an uptick in vaping patients. They're working against the clock, decades of cigarette and tobacco research to figure out treatment. Broderick states, "With tobacco, we have 6 decades of rigorous studies to show which of the 7,000 chemicals inhaled during smoking actually impact the lungs. But with vaping, we simply don't know the short or the long-term effects, and which e-cigarette components are to blame." With so much uncertainty, rumors and speculation have exploded. But in the haze of misinformation, some myths can be dispelled. Let's separate fact from fiction and uncover the truth about vaping. Since vaping hit the mainstream market around 15 years ago, there have been several myths in the cigarette versus vaping debate. The main one is that vapes are healthier, but let's debunk this myth and others that are commonly brought up in this discussion. The reason people may believe vaping is safer is because there are studies that show vaping is less dangerous than smoking. But the difference between less dangerous and safe are stark. E-cigarettes heat up nicotine and other chemicals to create a vapor. This vapor is not as toxic as cigarettes and the smoke produced from the tobacco. Dr. Michael Blaha from Johns Hopkins states that regular tobacco cigarettes have around 7,000 chemicals, which is much more than e-cigarettes. But this doesn't mean vaping is out of the woods, and it can still be proven harmful. Lung disease, injury, and death are increasing from vape usage. Hundreds of Australians have been and currently are struggling with severe complications from vaping, including children as young as 2 years old. Let that sink in. On top of that, e-cigarettes can lead to the same risk factors and health concerns as cigarettes. This includes asthma, cancer, heart disease, stroke, many more. But here's where it really gets scary. The illegal vapes. They're just pushing kids towards unregulated products. These black market vapes are a chemical cocktail of unknown toxins. Authorities have found metals like nickel and lead at 5 to 10 times higher than safe levels. Along the lines of chemical differences, people believe that e-cigarette vapors contain no toxic chemicals at all. Many think it's just flavoring, or that the only dangerous chemical within the vape juice is just the nicotine. This is also false. One of the most concerning chemicals in e-cigarettes is called formaldehyde. Now, formaldehyde is a human carcinogen, usually found in funeral homes as an embalming liquid. When inhaled, it can cause irritation and infection in both the lungs and the sinuses. In severe cases, it has been linked to throat and nasal cancers along with heart disease. What's even worse, e-cigarettes can have 5 to 15 times higher quantities of formaldehyde than tobacco cigarettes. Another dangerous chemical that we find in vapes is diacetyl. It's a common food additive. It can actually be found in things like butter, cheese, and wine. E-cigarette companies use it to deepen their flavors. However, when inhaled, diacetyl can damage the small passageways in the lungs, which is what leads to what we know as popcorn lung, where the passageways are obstructed and inflamed. In addition, acrolein is found in e-cigarettes, which is known to damage the lungs. Another place where you can find acrolein? Weed killer. Even though all of these chemicals are known to be harmful, the center of concern in e-liquid formulas is actually vitamin E. How can a helpful supplement be considered dangerous, you might think? Well, when used on the skin or taken orally, vitamin E doesn't have adverse effects at all. But when inhaled, it can be an irritant and linked to lung damage in vaping patients. E-cigarettes commonly use vitamin E as a thickening agent in their liquids. It's been established that the e-liquid in vapes contains damaging chemicals. But what about secondhand vapor? Many people think that since the tobacco smoke is removed, e-liquid's vapor is safe to be around, but the secondhand emissions from e-cigarettes are not harmless. It still emits the same chemicals found in the e-liquids, such as ultrafine particles. These can reach the small air sacs and passageways in the lungs to cause shortness of breath and bronchitic symptoms. Even though it doesn't affect the lungs the same way a vape does, breathing in the vapor can still cause problems. Many believe vaping increases relaxation and helps with stress. However, this isn't entirely accurate. Here's what's really happening. Nicotine, the primary addictive substance in vapes, is actually a stimulant. It doesn't directly cause relaxation. When regular users go without nicotine, they may experience withdrawal symptoms like irritability and anxiety. Vaping provides nicotine, which temporarily relieves these withdrawal symptoms. This relief can feel like relaxation, but nicotine also triggers a quick release of dopamine in the brain, creating a brief pleasure sensation. However, this effect is short-lived, and it can lead to dependency. Over time, nicotine use can actually worsen anxiety and depression. The cycle of withdrawal and relief can create a false association between vaping and stress relief. So while vaping might seem to provide temporary relief, it's not a true solution for stress or anxiety. In fact, it may contribute to long-term mental health issues. Any perceived benefits of vaping are outweighed by the potential health risks and the danger of nicotine addiction. After all this has been cleared up, the conclusion is that vapes are as dangerous as cigarettes, if not more. At the same time, many smokers praise them for helping them quit cigarettes. So is that true? No, but it's been a myth ever since vapes hit the mainstream market. When the switch from cigarettes to vapes happened in the early 2000s, companies marketed vapes as a transitional device to wean off of nicotine addiction. However, the Therapeutic Goods Administration has not approved any vaping device as a tobacco or nicotine cessation device. In fact, vaping can sometimes even lead to new smokers. The National Institute on Drug Abuse found that 30% of teenagers who begin to vape start smoking traditional tobacco products like cigarettes within 6 months. While it may help some smokers who are trying to quit, there's no evidence that vaping reduces new smokers. So, are vapes actually safer than cigarettes? The answer is not that simple. While there are more toxic chemicals in cigarettes, and cigarettes have more concerning and even scary statistics, vaping has a lack of time on its side. Vaping has only started to become popular in the last few years. Researchers are still discovering symptoms and even hypothesizing what long-term use will look like for vapers. But there are things that can change health risks, depending on what type of vape you use. Some flavors are known to be more toxic than others. Vanilla is the most dangerous and can impair blood vessel function the most. Strawberry caused the most cell death in a study by the American Heart Association. Cinnamon is also dangerous and can impair the lungs' ability to eliminate mucus. However, more research is required to understand the full extent of vapes' health impact. Cigarettes have had a longer time to build up a more sinister rap sheet. About 1 in 10 deaths in Australia is due to cigarette smoking. Smoking is also known to cause cardiovascular disease, lung disease, stroke, and cancer in every part of the body. What we know now is alarming. Vaping shares harmful elements with cigarettes, toxic chemicals, addictive nicotine, and the potential for severe health impacts. Already, within just a few years of widespread use, we're seeing vapers develop symptoms eerily similar to long-term smokers. Emergency rooms are treating young, otherwise healthy vapers for lung injuries, cardiovascular issues, and even cases of sudden death. And here's the truly frightening part. This is just the beginning. If vaping is causing such serious harm in such a short time, imagine the devastation we might see in 10, 20, or even 30 years. Cigarettes took decades to reveal their full deadly potential. Vaping is already showing its dangers, and we're only scratching the surface. As research catches up with this rapidly spreading habit, it's becoming increasingly clear. Vaping isn't just a passing concern. It's a ticking time bomb of public health. The full extent of its danger is yet to be revealed, but all signs point to a future health crisis that could rival or even surpass the damage done by traditional cigarettes. The vaping debate often misses a crucial point. It's not just about e-cigarettes. We're facing a larger tobacco epidemic, and our response needs to reflect that. Many call for banning vapes, but why stop there? Cigarettes, the known killer, often escape the spotlight in these discussions. This imbalance is dangerous. Consider this, if we only crack down on vapes, we risk pushing people back to traditional cigarettes. It's like plugging one hole in a sinking ship while ignoring the others. The result? A health crisis that could dwarf our current concerns. Let's put this in perspective. Nearly 8 million people die prematurely each year from cigarette-related illnesses. That's a staggering number. That's equivalent to wiping out the entire populations of Sydney and Brisbane every single year. The real conversation we need to have is about eliminating both vapes and cigarettes. It's not an either-or situation, it's both. We need a comprehensive strategy that targets all forms of nicotine addiction. Let's be crystal clear. Vaping is as harmful as smoking tobacco, if not more so. This isn't a contest where the runner-up gets a prize. Both are playing a dangerous game with your health. Vapers, take note. You're not getting a free pass. In just 15 short years, we're already seeing vaping mimic the brutal health effects of decades of smoking. It's like watching a horror movie and fast forward. Smokers and vapers alike may try to minimize risks to find a safer way to indulge, but here's the harsh truth. There are no guarantees. Every puff, whether smoke or vapor, is a gamble with your health. The real takeaway from this cigarette versus vape debate is that there are no winners. Whether you're holding a cigarette or a vape, you're losing. Losing your health, potentially your life. In this game, the only winning move is to not play at all.